All right, hello. This video slash ed puzzle is going over your last indirect statement assignment from last week. Um, Indirect statement is one of the most complicated or advanced types of sentences that you will ever learn in Latin, and some of you guys did it really well, so good job. Uh, all right, I'm going to just dive right in here. So, one of the main things that I did not explain before is say. And I think there was a little confusion looking over your responses. But what say does, and it's used a lot in these types of sentences, it just repeats whatever the subject is. So in this example, the teacher says that he is healthy. So it's he here because the subject is the teacher. So number one, the students believe, I think that was a new verb. The students believe that they, because it's students plural, the students believe that they, and then I would say about half you really grasp this. The other half were confused by this form. But this is the future infinitive of to be. So, as a recap, in these types of sentences, you just translate it like it's a future tense verb. So, I don't think I'll type all these out, but the students believe that they, and the say repeats the students, will be. All right. So in a verb chart, or in an infinitive chart, you would translate it as to be, about to be. All right. And some of you guys just went with that. But the whole key to this whole thing is that in English, we don't translate it like it's an infinitive. We translate it like it's a basic regular verb in the tense. So it's future, it's from to be. So you just, they will be. And then Felix is happy. All right. So that's the big deal. In Latin, this verb is expressed with an infinitive form, but in English, we don't quite treat it like that. So you really just, your job is to look at what tense it is and what voice it is, and voice active or passive, and then translate it naturally, like it's a regular verb. Number two, the king thinks. All right. So once you get through the first verb, and some of you were like translating the other part of the sentence before you got to the first part, but these are nice because they go in order. So the king thinks that, and you have to insert that the enemy, and the subject will always come right after the subject of the inside part of the sentence. All right. This is the statement being indirectly talked about. So the king thinks that the enemy is fierce or savage. All right. Essie, if you saw it on its own or in a different type of sentence or by itself, would be to be. It's the infinitive of to be. But in this type of Latin sentence, it just translates as if it was a present tense verb. The king thinks that the enemy is fierce. All right. I always say, all right, so the first verb in all these sentences is just regular present tense. And I don't know if you noticed that, but they've all been present tense. And we're going to figure out what changing the tense of this verb does. But for now, we're keeping them all in the present. So I always say that my wife, and now here's your infinitive, and it's a perfect infinitive. So you just need to, it's from the verb to be, so you just need to say to be in the past. I always say that my wife was or has been faithful. I always say that my wife has been faithful. It's probably the best, or was is fine. Any past tense translation for that is good. All right. The teachers hope that the students, and then here's the infinitive, it's present, it's active. So we just need to translate it like it's a present tense verb, that the students are learning. Or just learn, but are learning sounds a little bit better, in their homes or in their houses. All right, so Teachers hope that students are learning in their homes. Well, it's a quarantine special right there. Okay, number 5. The emperor says, once again, first verb is just a regular old present tense verb. The emperor says that many men, now here's your infinitive, and this one's tough to catch. This is a perfect passive infinitive. The emperor says that many men were killed or have been killed yesterday. So the emperor says that many men were killed yesterday. All right. Number 6, the teacher, nuntiat, verb to announce. The teacher announces. And now here's that say. So say repeats the subject. So it's a masculine teacher here. The teacher says that he, and then here's your infinitive form. And it's the future infinitive. A lot of you said the teacher announces that he is about to teach, but you don't translate it in its pure form. You just translate it like it's a future tense verb. So the teacher announces that he will teach nothing tomorrow. All right. The teacher announces that he will teach nothing tomorrow. All right. It's number 7. My wife thinks. And then a lot of you made it more complicated than it needs to be. After this initial verb, the next word is usually where you start. So my wife thinks that the king, and you throw that in there. Several of you left that out, but my wife thinks that the king, it's from Rex Regis, my wife thinks that the king, and then that's your present tense infinitive. It's present active. My wife thinks that the king loves her. Some of you were thrown off by this pronoun. Pronouns are always tricky in Latin. It's just from the he, she, it chart, and it's accusative. My wife thinks that the king loves her. All right, number 8. The students, plural, know that their teacher, all right, you can see the UMs go together here. Suum just means their own. So that their teacher, Their, amare, there's your verb, your infinitive verb. It's present, so just simply loves, and eos them. So the students know that their teacher loves them. All right. And that's a very sentimental sentence. Number 9, the king says, present tense for Deco, the king says that his wife. So similar to what I did there. Now here, this is the first time I've used this type of infinitive. It's present passive. All right. And like almost all of you had trouble with this. So it's present tense and it's passive. So once again, you don't translate it as to be loved, which, by itself, it would translate as to be loved. But in this type of sentence, it's just as if it were a present passive verb, like if it was a mater. You guys remember aris ter, mermini inter. All right, so the king says that his wife is not loved. All right, the king says that his wife is not loved or is not being loved. And that would be the best way to do that, just making it a present tense passive verb. All right, and then number 10, the student thinks that nothing. And then here, once again, present passive infinitive. So we just want to make it present and passive. So the student thinks that nothing is being taught or is taught today. All right. So in an indirect statement, you should never use the to. Infinitives in Latin are treated like they're verbs in this kind of sentence. And we do an infinitive chart. When you just have its pure form, it translates as to. And sometimes they do, but not in this type of sentence. Okay, and that's about it. All right, hope you all are well. And all of it began in the tense. We're going to find out what happens when they begin in the past tense. That kind of changes things. So, all right. Talk to you soon.